renewed. Kentucky and Indiana between them, they've won 12 national championships. Good afternoon, everyone. Don Craigie with Greg Anthony, and on the scene today is the Great Wall of Kentucky. Freshman guard John Wall, who many feel has already identified himself 9 games into his career as the best player in the game.
Well, Don, when I look at John Wall, his abilities are breathtaking. This young man can stretch it out on the perimeter to 3. I think also the full repertoire of his ability to finish at the rim, and he intimidates you with his athletic ability, but most importantly, he's got a feel for the game that cannot be taught. On the flip side of that, the Indiana Hoosiers have a lot of reason for optimism. They're coming off their biggest win in Tom Crean's tenure over Pitt at the Garden last Tuesday night. They are confident, they are optimistic, and they're looking to pull a big upset against the Wildcats.
Now, Greg, let's take a look at the AT&T in-game analysis.
Well, for Kentucky, their first big road test of the season, turnovers will be key. They have to win the turnover margin. If you're Indiana, you have got to win the battle on the boards. Rebounding will be critical. And then transition game. Who wins out there? The team with the easiest baskets, the most of them, I think, may win the game.
All right, we're about ready to go. The starting lineups and the tip-off are next. CBS Sports College Basketball coverage is sponsored by Coca-Cola Zero, real Coke taste and 0 calories. By American Express, don't take chances, take charge. And by Ford, drive one. And there is John Calipari, head coach of the Kentucky Wildcats. In his first year already, his young team has risen to number 4 in America in the rankings. His lineup, a lot of young players and some tremendous backline players in freshman John Wall and also Eric Bledsoe. Patterson's the stabilizer, the veteran up front. DeMarcus Cousins, another freshman sensation. The Hoosiers of Indiana are led in the backline by Jeremiah Rivers, a transfer from Georgetown. Maurice Creek, their leading scorer. Up front, Christian Watford's been playing great basketball as a freshman under Tom Crean in his second season as the head coach of the Hoosiers. A tough rebuilding year last year, but they're coming off the biggest Indiana win, Greg Anthony, in a long time, that 10-point win over Pitt.
And it's going to be critical for them to establish some confidence early on. I think that's going to be the key. They have read the headlines of Kentucky. They know how good and athletic this team is. They want to get off to a good start.
An up-tempo game's expected. Tip goes to Indiana. Hoosiers a very intense practice yesterday. This is a huge game. John Calipari says we think it's Indiana's Super Bowl.
It really is, and this game will go a long way, not just in this team's conference, but I think in recruiting if they account themselves well today.
Long ball. On time. Maurice Creek. A freshman from Oxon Hill, Maryland. A high school All-American last year.
Good patience in that first possession by Indiana. You see them coming out early on in a zone. Calipari thought they would play a lot of zone against them. It's given them trouble. Stanford took them to overtime.
Now the Wildcats fire long distance. Darius Millers won't go. They'll move down court to the basket. Foul called. They're going to call goaltend. And the underdog Hoosiers take a 5-0 lead.
And they control the defensive backboard. You can see, yeah, the ball was definitely off the glass. Good call by the official.
Kentucky with the ball, a 9-0 record. They've been winning close games. They've been winning every time out, and now a drive to the basket up and down. And Wildcats have their first points on a finger roll by Eric Bledsoe.
That's a young man. He hasn't gotten as much of the talk because of John Wall, but he is every bit as spectacular. That first game of the season when Wall was out, he dropped 24 points in a win for Kentucky, so expect him to have an impact on this game as well.
And Bledsoe was also a 5-star rated recruit in the back line. And there is Rivers, a consummate team player, unselfish to a fault. He really is the leader of this Indiana team out of the back line. And now a drive to the basket, a reject. Cousins tipped it off. Maurice Creek, it'll be inbounds to the Wildcats.
And I really feel DeMarcus Cousins is the key long-term for this team and whether or not they can ultimately win a national championship. He gives them that great size on the interior. As you can see here, he can block shots. Kentucky is a team second in the country. And it's going to be important that he stay on the floor. At times he can struggle with foul trouble.
Well, that's been an early problem for him. Foul problems has taken him out of the lineup. Now low to Cousins. Good defense, but the tip is put back up and in by Patrick Patterson, the junior. And Green told us, he said, we're going to find out who's in condition today because this is going to be fast-paced both ways. They want to go, we want to go.
And they both are going to go. Both teams want to play as much as they can in the open court.
Three-point strike by Christian Watford, freshman from Birmingham, Alabama.
Now, just think about the impact of the freshmen in this game. Both teams rely heavily on freshman players. In this environment, it's impressive to see how they handle it.
Oh, puts up a long ball. And Rivers brings it down court now for the Hoosiers. Loses his dribble. And gets it up to Watford. Rivers has been well documented as the son of Doc Rivers, a great friend of yours and the head coach of the Boston Celtics. Line drive jumper. Up and down by Verdell Jones, who hit for 23 in the win over Pittsburgh.
I'll tell you what, if you're Tom Crean, you could not be any happier with the start offensively to this game.
Player control foul signaled against the Wildcats, and the ball's back over to Indiana.
And I don't know if there's anybody more intense than Tom Crean, but here's one of those decisions here by Cousins. And you don't totally blame Cousins for that play because Eric Bledsoe should not have given him the basketball out on the perimeter right there. It puts him in a tough situation where he's got to make a decision. You don't want to put that pressure on the big out on the perimeter.
Indiana, Greg, off to a good shooting start. Hoosiers have 4 or 5 field goal tries or 2 of 2 on threes. Indiana lighting it up.
Offensive execution.
And the whistle stops play. The officials are Rick Hartzell, Carl Hess, and Antonio Petty. Here, Greg, a look at those fantastic freshmen.
I mean, unbelievable numbers and the impact of these 3 young men, the poise and the patience they've shown all season long. What's going to be interesting, though, remember, this is their first true road test of the season, and how they handle the adversity of being on the road, I think will be instrumental in whether or not they're going to be able to get this win.
John Wall at the free throw line. First one rims out. Wall, an 81% free throw shooter. That big win over UConn at Madison Square Garden Wednesday night. John Calipari said down the stretch, we went to John Wall. We needed him to win the game, and he did.
He said he didn't even call any plays. He said, we're going to put you in certain positions, and you just don't make a play. And did he deliver down the stretch?
He scored 15 of Kentucky's last 21 points in that game. Here's a blocking foul against Indiana.
If you think about the 2 signature wins this season thus far for Kentucky, the one consistent was the great starts they got off to against both North Carolina and UConn. Indiana's been able to avert that here early on with getting off to a Kentucky-like start, if you will, in this game.
Foul call was on Miller. In and out. Long ball shot by Watford. And down they go to Patrick Patterson, who slams it down. And the Wildcats now down 12-7.
They attack quickly. Wall with the great vision, head up, able to deliver on time.
Open shot. In and out again. Rebound tipped out. Here comes Wall. Beautiful lead. Drive to the rack. And we're going to have commercial.
Kentucky early on, starting to get back into it with the rhythm, down by 5. Indiana playing great. I'm in the back, changing my outfits. Here I come, here I come, here I come. You boys get ready, cause here I come, here I come, here I
come. The upcoming Final Four site in the capital city of Indiana, Indianapolis. A lot of contenders for places in the tournament. Not that far away, Greg.
No, and the 2 teams that really stand out early on in the season for me, Purdue of the Big Ten playing exceptional basketball, and obviously this Kentucky Wildcats team here both have a chance to get to Indianapolis.
And the Hoosiers off to a 12-7 lead. Tom Crean, the Indiana coach, told us that Kentucky's speed is the biggest concern. Just before the whistle blew, Darius Miller will now find himself at the free throw line, and he brings Kentucky back to within 4. But John Calipari also said that we can't play too fast. We're a fast team, but said speed kills. They can kill us if we're not careful with the ball.
Early on, though, when they've had opportunities in the open floor, they've been very good. And again, that's something Indiana's going to have to be careful. Not allow this game to turn into too much of a track meet.
Perry also assessing this game as the team that's most intense will have, as he put it, a dogged advantage.
You see Kentucky going with this little 1-3-1 half court. They want to force the ball to the corners and try to get some traps and create turnovers.
The team meeting and then team practice. They work long and hard on spacing. Rivers controlling the ball, sets up a three-point shooter. On the way and down, off the hand of freshman Maurice Creek.
And that's a big possession because they came up with the effort play there, the loose ball. And Rivers did a great job of finding Creek out on the perimeter for the jump shot.
Back the other way. And go for Kentucky. Indiana pushing the pace. The freshman Creek already with 10 points in this game for Indiana. Bobby Capobianco off the bench comes in and gets 2.
And just really good passing on the perimeter by Indiana. That kind of offensive execution will force Kentucky out of that zone and force them to play strictly man-to-man.
And early on, Greg, there's a lot of happy Hoosiers in this building. What a start for Indiana. Bledsoe cross court. Wall with a runner. Battling hard and coming away with the ball is Watford.
And you can see here, Indiana, beautiful no-look by Jones there for the layup. And you can see how Kentucky's entire front line is up towards the free throw line in the zone. That's not going to get it done, especially if you don't have the proper ball pressure.
And on that fight for the ball on the floor, Daniel Orton of Kentucky was called for a personal foul. It was back over to the Hoosiers, who lead the game 17-9. That win over Pittsburgh really validated all the hard work. He said it's a win that will resonate with these guys this season because they haven't had a big win in a long time, Indiana. Before the 10-point win, and now Kentucky comes back the other way quickly. Bledsoe slashed into the basket. Another player control foul. Travel. New kids in town. Creek 15-6 a game, already 10 today in the first 6 minutes. Watford, Elston, and Rivers is a junior, a transfer from Georgetown. He had a sit out last year.
And Watford's going to be a big key also. Christian Watford, they really want to see him look to become even more of an aggressive offensive rebounder. Averaging over 6.5 a game as a freshman, solid, but the expectations are very high for this young man by the coaching staff.
Senior Devin Dumas in the lineup now for the Hoosiers. As the quarterback, Jeremiah Rivers finds a lane. Looking to dish, tipped away, and here comes Kentucky. John Wall leads the break. He doesn't go, but Patterson takes down the offensive board. And then a travel call signaled. Hoosiers hot on their home floor at the outset of this game.
And one of the things we've seen early on is the inability by Kentucky to get the ball into the post. We have not seen them be able to do that. That's such an integral part of what they like to do offensively. And Indiana's doing a good job for the most part of taking away transition opportunities.
Wildcats bring full-court heat. Gets around, that's Wall, tipping him to himself. Driving on Rivers. And Cousins comes him off to play and puts down the follow-up.
open floor. Those are situations right there where Kentucky's going to look to be aggressive.
Rivers with another hard move to the basket.
And even here, even though John Wall doesn't make the pass, his ability to get to the rim forces help, and that allows DeMarcus Cousins to get that offensive rebound. I'll tell you, in the open floor, this young man is intimidating physically. He is so fast and so good with the basketball. Now, having said that, as a whole, I think Kentucky's a little tentative right now. To be expected. Again, very young team, haven't been in a hostile environment, and I think they got hit with a serious body blow early on. I don't think they expected Indiana to play this well.
Now the Hoosiers came out shooting in a couple early threes, and now a spinning move to the basket, throwing up a hope. It doesn't look like much, and it's back to Kentucky. Off the hand of Derek Elston, another of the young players, the freshman from Tipton, Indiana. Patterson rebounds and the Wildcats reset.
Yeah, they're starting to become more effective on the offensive glass. Kentucky is. That's going to be a big concern for Indiana. Athletically, they are not on the same level, so it's going to take more effort and fundamentals for them to compete on that backcourt.
Well, as the Crane said, Greg, we have to defend with 5. We have to get back because we can't match man for man the talent on Kentucky and the speed. We've got to get back somehow, and a bank shot goes down the wall.
I don't know if he called it, but it counted.
They counted. It's now a 4-point lead, Indiana. The 53rd meeting of Indiana and Kentucky.
Remember, Don, that last possession was not a quality possession for Indiana. A bad shot's like a turnover.
And on the other side, that's one of the problems Calipari said the Wildcats have. We're taking bad shots too early on the clock. This is Don Criqui with Greg Anthony back at Assembly Hall at Indiana. The Hoosiers have a 17-13 lead.
And Don, it's critical for a young basketball team to see the ball go through the basket early on. It makes you a more aggressive player. It makes you more intense, better defensively. It gives you a chance to compete. And early on, Tom Crean could not be happier with the start offensively for Indiana.
But rebounding, another story, Greg. Kentucky has a big edge there.
Already 4 offensive rebounds, plus 6 there to offset the fact that they've had 3 turnovers early.
There's a steal. Down the court is Dotson, lead to Wall, and in for the slam is Ramon Harris, who averages only 2 points a game, but he brings the Wildcats of Kentucky back to within 2.
Another possession that was not a quality possession for Indiana. Bad shots and turnovers will kill them in this game. Kentucky is good as anybody at converting those into scoring opportunities.
Wildcats all over the ball. Away from it. And getting it out to Maurice Creek, who hits his 3rd 3 of the game. Wall going hard to the rack. He is fouled by Creek.
Wow, he is fast.
Kentucky, a very tall basketball team. Top to bottom on their roster, they average 6'7" Virginia Tech and UConn, next 3 tallest teams. That's counting everybody.
And you can see the effect of that early on defensively, these last few possessions. When your spacing is poor, which it has been the last few possessions, and Coach Crean talked about it at practice yesterday, it allows one guy to guard 2. And when you got the kind of length and athleticism that Kentucky has, they're going to get their hands on a lot of balls, and that's going to lead to turnovers, which obviously runouts and conversions on the other end.
And as you know, Greg, this Kentucky team can explode. They were down by 7 to North Carolina a week ago, and then went on a 26-2 run.
But there's nobody, I don't think, in America as good as John Wall at going from defense to offense.
Getting a referee review of this. Ball's tipped out of bounds. Referees Rick Hartzell, Carl Hess, and Antonio Petty. And Calipari, he knew there'd be an early barrage of a lot of emotion in this Indiana team. Looking to see if his foot was on the line.
I'll tell you, that's close. I mean, it does look like it could be on the line, but that's probably not the best angle to tell.
Tough call.
It is a tough one. That's one of those rules, like one thing I like about the NFL where they say unless, you know, you can absolutely determine that it was the other way, you can't change the call.
Yeah, it's got to be irrefutable evidence on the replay that overturned the call on the floor. Football. The point was taken away in that rule. The 2, his foot was on the line. Back out to Bledsoe, and here's Wall, this freshman sensation, averaging 19 a game. He's been defended pretty well so far.
He has, but one of the problems when you play this zone, and it's been effective for Indiana, but it really puts you at a disadvantage on that defensive backboard.
Great looking shot off the hands of freshman Bledsoe. Eric Bledsoe, a 10-point-a-game scorer, a good three-point shooter. He's at 13 of 26 now, 50% for the season.
And here an offensive foul, illegal block called.
Fouls on Watford. His first.
And you can see Kentucky likes to extend that pressure. Tough call there, but you got to give Bledsoe the credit really for initiating the contact and putting the onus on the official.
Orton gets it down low. Good ball moving into the big man, Patrick Patterson. He's fouled and will go to the line. Next, CBS Sports presents the renewal of one of the most colorful and illustrious spectacles in all of sport. It's all guts, it's all grit, it's all glory. It's the Army-Navy game presented by USAA. It all begins with TIAA Prep College Football Today. Patterson at the line, a very good shooter. Tom Crean thought the biggest change in this Kentucky team is the way that this Patterson, all that size, is stepping out and hitting long balls. He's hit 7 of 16 threes this season.
He's 4th in the country in field goal percentage.
He can step out and hit the long one, too. It's not all inside. Kentucky has tied this game, looking to take the lead. John Calipari up calling the play.
And they're starting to get a little bit more comfortable at attacking this zone.
And again, Bledsoe finds the range.
Really good ball movement by Kentucky the last 3-4 possessions. Either they've been able to score initially or they've gotten the offensive rebound that's led to a score.
First lead for the Kentucky Wildcats, 21-19, and another whistle stops play. Bledsoe, a freshman from Birmingham, Alabama, 6'1", but his coach says he plays a lot bigger than that. He's got a 6'8" wingspan, and he's got a 40-inch vertical. So Kentucky has rallied back and taken a 21-19 lead. Kentucky on a 12-2 run. Kentucky and Indiana both stand tall in the national championship count. Kentucky with 7, Indiana with 5. The Bruins of UCLA, with all those great wooden teams, the leader at 11. Second chance points, a big story.
It's really that and Indiana's struggles offensively here to get quality possessions. 11-0 second chance points here early on this first half. Patterson's already got 3 offensive rebounds.
Kentucky with a big advantage there. It's helped them rally back and take the lead. He goes zone now, switching up on defense. Kentucky's long. They're tough to move that ball around that zone. And another whistle stops play with 9 minutes to go in the first half.
And if you're Indiana, you're going to have to take a page out of the playbook from Kentucky in terms of attacking this long zone. That ball has got to be passed into the interior to bring everybody defensively down to the level of the ball, and then you're going to be able to make some scoring passes. Either that or they're going to have to look to try to beat it with some penetration to force help and create opportunities.
That last foul on Patrick Patterson of Kentucky, it was his first. Indiana wanted to run, but right now Kentucky are getting back and forcing the Hoosiers to run deep into the shot clock. Long ball, that'll help you out. Bombs away for Christian Watford.
That three-pointer,
expect the lead.
That three-pointer is the great equalizer.
What is it? Bledsoe fires. Can you top this?
Now that Kentucky settled down, they are just so talented. And I tell you, they show tremendous poise for a very young team.
Bledsoe Greg has hit all 4 of his shots. He's got 10 points for the Wildcats. They extend to a 3-point lead. Double up on Watford, and here's Rivers quickly over to what looked like an open man, and now a great drive to the rack. Up and down by sophomore Verdell Jones. And the Hoosiers are back to within 1. Patterson. In and out. Rebound to Watford. Here come the Hoosiers. And the game is Halls, who's Indiana High School Player of the Year last season here in Bloomington South. Reject, rebound, Kentucky comes hard.
That's one of those plays. Now, penetration has to come with vision. You have to be able to recognize where your teammates are. And Kentucky's going to provide help. You have to be able to find open players.
Well, the open player on that was Darius Miller, who strokes down a 3. That's his 15th 3 of the year. And the Wildcats back up by 4 again. Here is Rivers pulling up off the dribble with a good-looking shot.
Both teams have accounted themselves well here early on. Offensively, execution's been solid. I know Calipari's happy with the fact that his team withstood that run early on. And look at the intensity on Tom Crean.
How about the intensity of these fans?
Yeah.
Bledsoe, okay, he's got it working today. He brought his A stuff. Again, a 4-point lead for Kentucky. Rivers a big guard at 6'5", very sure with the ball with both hands, and now a long ball is off and rebounded. Here comes Wall. 19-point-a-game score. He's been quiet for the most part today. That can change at any moment. Wall, a very, very skilled player, but with tremendous maturity. They talk he's been great in the classroom. Calipari says he's carrying a 3.8 average right now. So he takes basketball and school and his 3-point shot very seriously.
He's only going to get a 3.0 on that shot.
That was a beauty. Wall now has 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. As the Wildcats have their biggest advantage, a 7-point lead. 5:40 to play in the half. Heading to the rack, getting it up and down.
And that's a big basket. A huge basket for Tom Pritchard. He's really struggled with his confidence all season. You saw it on that last possession, the hesitation to take that jump shot. Foul trouble and his confidence slumping a little bit has really led to him being a little bit more inconsistent this year than he was last season.
Wall, who's always looking for that gap. He's so fast. Terrific play off glass. Patterson inside. And Wildcats again by 7 with under 5 to go in the first half. Patterson has 7 points. Pull-up look. Rebound comes down to Orton. Outlet. Down court to Paul.
Oh my goodness!
Well, Rod Strickland, who was a great player at DePaul and for 17 years in the pros, thinks he's only Kentucky assistants. What he says about Wall, I mean, he's an all-time.
Oh, he is. And that we talked about at the top, the intimidation factor. It takes off from the dotted line, finishes up over the top. Kentucky by 9.
Here's what the AP Top 10 looks like this week. Kansas, the Jayhawks, #1 with an 8-0 record, followed by Texas, Villanova, Kentucky, and Purdue. And West Virginia, Syracuse, Duke, Tennessee, and Florida complete the top 10 of this week.
I tell you, Syracuse has been impressive here early on. I got a chance to watch them against Florida. You know, Andy Rounds has done a great job in the backcourt, and also Wesley Johnson. What a I shouldn't call him a surprise because Jim Boeheim talked about how special this young man could be.
Calipari told us yesterday, Greg, he said, I texted Jim Boeheim and told him, I'm glad we don't play you. You guys are good. Yeah, wow. This Creek has found the range as he brings Indiana back to within 6. He has 15 first-half points. Freshman guards are really the staple of this team. They're really building this team around Watford and Creek.
Huge upgrade from a year ago because they got 2 guys now that are consistent scorers for them. And talk about consistency.
And with both teams with heat checks here, knocking down shots. And again, a 8-point Kentucky lead. 9 points for Patrick Patterson. Gish, but up and down. Nice assist done by Derek Elston and Bobby Capobianco on the payoff end.
And that's a perfect example of penetrating with the head up. The help's coming. They're going to be open teammates out there for Indiana. They have to be able to locate.
This Kentucky team, expert at winning close games, beat Connecticut by 3 on Wednesday night. Beat Carolina by 2 a week ago. Won an overtime over Stanford and 2-point win over Miami. We're back at Assembly Hall, Indiana University. Indiana shooting the ball very, very well, but still, Greg Anthony, not enough.
No, part of the reason why it's not enough, John Wall has just been spectacular. Good job, good decision-making out. He's found the hot hand, been able to knock down the long range. And then these are the types of plays, the momentum builders that really get your team fired up and playing at another level. He's been able to do that here early on. 8 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and no turnovers, folks. Remember, this young man, 14 turnovers, as great as he's been in this last 2 games. So on the road, that's very impressive.
Yeah, he missed his first 3 shots. John Wall hits 3 of 3 since. And as mentioned, 4 rebounds to lead the Wildcats. Here is Hulls, the freshman guard. A lot of Wildcats coming in on him. Tough to lose these people.
They are. They're relentless defensively. They're so long, as we touched upon earlier. And when they make you shoot over the top, most teams struggle, but not Indiana today.
Jordy Hulls, the Mr. Basketball in Indiana high school ball last season. It's the big one. Hoosiers back to within 3 with 2:30 to go in the half. I asked Wall, what's the biggest difference in coming to college basketball with practice last night? He said that the way defenses collapse on you. Not like high school, you have one guy to beat. They're all over you.
I tell you what, he's made the adjustment quite nicely.
Nice looking look.
Wow.
Gelston, whose dad played for North Carolina. And all of a sudden, the Hoosiers come roaring back. John Calipari not happy. Indiana on a 7-0 run. With Greg Anthony, this is Don Brickey back at Indiana, where Kentucky now has a 1-point lead over the Indiana Hoosiers, a rising team after a rebuilding job last year, only 6 wins, but when they hired Tom Crean, they got the right guy.
They really have, and this thing, you could just see the enthusiasm's back.
Coming up on AT&T at the half, Tim Brando and Seth Davis will get you caught up on all the scores and highlights. Plus, Seth will give us his observations and insights on the season so far in his season outlook. That's all coming up on AT&T at the half. John Wall up court with a slow dribble, calls the foreplay. Indiana shuts that off. Number 4 didn't work. Good ball movement. coming up with the ball and somehow putting it up and down is Darnell Dodson. And the Wildcats have a 3-point lead with 1:20 to go in the half. Timeout on the floor.
Don, offensive rebounding, 13-0 advantage for Kentucky. 7 offensive rebounds, only 5 defensive for Indiana. They're going to have to figure out a way to compete on the backboard.
And now, Greg Anthony, let's take a look at today's AT&T in-game analysis.
Well, anytime you're on the road, if you're Kentucky, you want to win the turnover margin. They've done it, but look at the rebounding. Indiana had to do a better job. They're -10. They have less defensive rebounds, and Kentucky has offensive. And in the transition game, UK has excelled early on, 9-2 there, and yet they still only lead by 3.
And always on the mind of Tom Crean, Indiana coach, is what Kentucky can do in a short span. I mean, they can go on bursts that are awesome. 40-37. And a foul's going to be 6 against the Wildcats.
Ramon Harris picked up the foul, trying to defend the baseline out of bounds. You hate to put guys on the free throw, especially on dead balls.
At the line is Maurice Creek. Score for Indiana this season, 15-6 a game. Hoosiers now down by 2.
What a start he's gotten off to in this basketball game. He really, I thought, set the tone for Indiana early on. Gave a little bit of confidence, knocking down that perimeter jump shot.
And the Hoosiers, Greg, are right back in it. Here comes Kentucky now. Their lead cut to 1. Another play called by John Wall. Evan Dumas guarding him in a man.
Indiana's gone back to the man-to-man, I think in part because of the inability to control that defensive backboard, but can they contain the penetration?
Yeah, that's the hard thing about a zone. Blockout responsibility. Nice looking shot. And again, Kentucky by 3. Patterson has 11 that last shot. We're down to 43 seconds to go. Lead to Wall. Watch this. Out of the backboard. Here come the Hoosiers. This Kentucky speed, you see it on the defensive end also. They get to the ball fast.
What a block on that last possession, though, Don, by Devin Dumas on Patrick Patterson. Remember, Dumas is one of their better players from last season. He's been dealing with injury this year, and it slowed his progress.
He's the only senior in the playing rotation, Devin Dumas from Indianapolis. There's a long ball. Not enough on it, but look at that. It was a good assist. And that's the end of the first half with the score. Kentucky 42 and Indiana 41. Now let's go to Tim Brando in New York for AT&T at the half.
Thanks, Don. Coming up on AT&T at the half, we'll get you caught up on all of today's action, plus Seth's outlook for the season. After this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports College basketball coverage is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. Come to the winter event going on now and make all your holiday wishes come true. By SiriusXM, hear how satellite radio is changing the way you listen. And by the makers of Zantac, beat that heartburn heat, Zantac. At the half, 4th-ranked Kentucky holding to a 1-point lead over Indiana. I'm Cricky with Greg Anthony. Greg, you led a UNLV team to a national championship. You did it as a very young point guard. How about John Wall? You think Kentucky might be national championship good?
I think they have the talent. There's no doubt about it. And these types of games will go a long way in getting him the experience. It's going to be interesting as the season progresses watching him develop.
Now let's take a look at the Mercedes-Benz first half stats. Shooting's been tremendous.
Unbelievable shooting. If you're Indiana, the big concern, though, is how are you going to compete on that defensive backboard? They are getting manhandled. 8 offensive rebounds already. Keep in mind, folks, Kentucky hadn't had a lot of offensive rebounding opportunities. They're shooting 57%. And if you're Kentucky, you got to do a much better job with your half-court defense. Too many open opportunities for Indiana, and they're shooting at a 63% clip.
Wildcats open with the ball. They have a big difference in the first half. Kentucky had 7 offensive rebounds. Indiana had only 1, and now they pound it down low and get the early hurt. Big DeMarcus gets in there, puts it up and down. DeMarcus Cousins quiet much of the first half. John Calipari saw him coming in. They said they shot it this morning at 7:30 here in the gym, and he said, I said, how did Cousins play? He said he was great. He said, I hope he carries it over. He's been quiet, but he's a big-time guy. Shows that shot by Maurice Creek. 20 points for the freshman Creek, and it's a tie game. Boy, in Hoosier hysteria. They're happy folks down here in Indiana, with Indiana rising again after some lean years. You can beat the crowds and get your favorite NCAA gear when you shop online at the CBS Sports Store. You'll save big on all officially licensed jerseys, caps, and more. Just go to cbssportsstore.com. At the line, DeMarcus Cousins. Foul was on Capobianco, his first.
Don, you can see early on the point of emphasis at halftime by John Calipari was to get the ball inside against this zone. Either they're going to look for those scoring opportunities or continue to try to really have their way on that offensive glass.
And a 1-point advantage for the Wildcats as Jeremiah Rivers looks for a place to penetrate. None there. Great dish by Rivers. Shot was partially rejected, and down the other way on the run is Darius Miller. He can't get it to go. Second try by Miller is up and down. Rivers. A great look inside.
First offensive rebound of the game for Indiana.
And now the ball's back over to the Hoosiers.
Big play. Turnover there by Bledsoe. Just a little out of control. But overall, they've done a good job of taking care of the basketball. But for Indiana, that's a big offensive rebound. They have not competed on the glass yet in this game. And ultimately, if they win it, that may come down to their ability to compete on that backboard.
Watcher's the guy who got the second chance and put it up and down. And the Hoosiers work a play. More half-court sets than we might have expected, Greg. They were looking to run both teams as much as they could. Rivers with a great move to the basket and the left hand up and down.
And we really haven't talked a lot about Jeremiah Rivers, but he has done a phenomenal job of controlling tempo in the half court. He's gotten his team quality look after quality look, and that's one of the reasons Indiana is right in the middle of this game.
Rivers playing with an ailing back. He was hurt against Maryland, and he's getting a lot of treatment. Big play. So there is the 6'5" junior transfer from Georgetown, Jeremiah Rivers. The man that Indiana looks to run their offense from the back line. That was John Wall coming out of the rafters.
Yeah, you typically don't throw the alley-oop to your point guard, but you also typically don't have a guy with the athletic ability of a John Wall.
And with the bucket, Wall, Greg, now has 10 points.
Yeah, and that's a set play out of the timeout with the back screen set out there by Oregon. And just a beautiful delivery and finish by John Wall.
And some great second and third looks at John Wall. He may have identified himself early on in this season as the best player in all of college basketball. A lot of people feel that way. Among them is Greg Anthony.
Yeah, and the thing that's most impressive, a lot of times you have players that get numbers, they get the statistics, but this guy impacts the game. He makes plays when it matters most. You look at what he did down the stretch against UConn, how he played against North Carolina, the buzzer beater against Miami of Ohio.
Rebound to Wall. Full speed ahead. Hoosiers get back. Green talking about we have to play five-man defense. We've got to get back. And Bledsoe, he has been absolutely, he's got reason to smile. He has been a force for Kentucky. He is now 6 of 6, 15 points. Freshman guard. Rivers dishing off the drive. Kentucky coming up with the ball. Wall. Sets up the shooter. Another offensive rebound. Patterson puts it up and down. He was fouled and will look to complete a three-point play as the Wildcats now build a 6-point lead.
And again, good offensive execution. Bledsoe finally misses, but Patrick Patterson there on the offensive glass. This is the middle of a 7-0 run here by Kentucky. And again, it goes back, the offensive backcourt. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for both teams. Kentucky's dominating there. Really, you're on the road. Teams shooting 60% against you, yet you lead because of your ability to control that backboard. 17-2 second chance points in this game. Unbelievable.
Patterson, 13 points and 5 rebounds. He's on target to graduate in May in 3 years from Kentucky with a degree in communications. Up court, Hulls gets the ball down low. Wildcats going after the ball, and they might have got Bledsoe on a reach-in. The first thing he's done wrong.
Yeah, he hasn't done well. He's played so well. And, and a credit to this young man, folks, he's a point guard. One of the hardest things there is to do in basketball is to take the ball out of a point guard's hands, and yet he's made that transition seamlessly, in part because of the unselfishness of John Wall.
And now, Greg, these Hoosiers who shot so well, 63% in the first half, have to start hitting as Kentucky can pull away in short order. No foul call as Creek launches again. Last touch by Indiana.
It's almost unrealistic to expect that Indiana is going to be able to continue to shoot at this high clip. Therefore, I think it's going to be more imperative for them to figure out a way to compete on the backboard and try to get out in transition. Remember, that's something Tom Crean wants to do, is this team to get out and try to get some easy baskets and not have to deal with the length and athleticism of Kentucky in that half court.
Bledsoe loses the ball going to the basket. A break in the action with Kentucky in the lead, 54-48, 15:46 to play. As Tom Crean, coach of Indiana, said yesterday to us, we're going to find out who's in condition today. Second chance points and the power of Kentucky down low to go with those great guards. Been tough to overcome.
It's been the difference really in this game. 17-4 second chance opportunity. 6 different guys for Kentucky have an offensive rebound. They have 9 offensive rebounds in the game. Indiana only has 10 total rebounds in this basketball game.
Now the Hoosiers, Greg, they've got to toughen up that defense. They've got a sign in their locker room that says toughness is a talent. There they get a whistle and a foul call.
The toughness right now is being shown by the Wildcats. Darnell Dotson there, more of a shooter, but has shown an ability to put the ball on the floor and get to the rim. They just come at you in waves.
Nine-point advantage now for Kentucky. Danger time for the Hoosiers. They need a hit. No harm, no foul.
A little bit of intensity.
Hey, it's all part of the game.
That's right, but both young men kept their cool. And And I do see why the young man took offense to that. He had his leg wrapped up there. DeMarcus Cousins.
Driving shot rejected. Verdell Jones can't get it to go. And Kentucky methodically building a lead now in this game. They trailed much of the first half to Tom Crean's Hoosiers. The Wildcats of Kentucky now on a 10-0 run.
And we talked about it earlier. You know, it's not realistic. Shot 63% that first half, did Indiana. They're cooling down a little bit. Unfortunately, Kentucky's not letting up, especially with their attack on the interior. And every opportunity they get to get out in the open floor, they're going to take it, and they've been very efficient with it thus far.
And they've really settled in. Of course, Indiana in the first half hit 5 of 8 threes. Wildcats defending the three much better now and shooting their own.
It's poetry in motion how they're executing now in the half court.
13-0 run for Kentucky. Bledsoe with that last three now has 18 points for the Wildcats. This season, a former Indiana great, Isaiah Thomas, is the new head coach at Florida International. His first game, a 16-point loss to North Carolina. His Panthers are 3-8 on the season so far, but well, they remember him at Assembly Hall, 1981, a national championship. Under coach Bob Knight, one of 3 that Bob Knight's Hoosiers have won, 3 national titles. Hoosiers have won 5 overall. Kentucky's won 7. They're last in 98. Last time they went to the Final Four.
Yeah, and I think Isaiah will get FIU turned around. He's done a good job already with the recruiting. But I tell you what, this young man, John Wall, has done him proud with how he's played the point guard position. His unselfishness really, I think, is one of the keys to why Kentucky has been so good so early in the season.
And another guy that's been so good so early is Eric Bledsoe. He's hit 7 of 8 field goals, including 4 of 5 3-point shots for Kentucky. 18 points. He leads the way. Kentucky's defense has been ratcheted up. They're not the looks they were in the first half.
Now, they've definitely done a better job of contesting shots and containing penetration. And for the first time today, you're starting to see Indiana's heads starting to bow a little bit. Still a lot of time left in this game if you're Indiana. They just need to figure out a way to come up with some stops and get out in the open court.
Well, the impassioned talk we were witness to yesterday, Crean gave his team. He said, don't let a disappointment keep you from the defensive end. He said, get back down there and defend and get another crack at it. Let's watch Eric Bledsoe's big day for the Kentucky Wildcats.
And it started early on. I mean, folks, this guy was the 3rd-rated point guard in high school last year. And because of all the hype and accolades, and deservingly so to John Wall, he's been lost a little bit, but he has played exceptionally well, not only in this game, but on the entire season for Kentucky.
And the Wildcats with a 12-point advantage, and Indiana's been quiet for a long time.
They're struggling. They haven't been able to get out in early offense. They've been resigned to having to try to score in the half court, and now those shots that were falling, you talked about down early on, they're not getting the same looks here in the second half.
Look at that defense come out. Drake was firing threes. Here is Paul shooting the three. Not enough on it from way outside the arc, and it's back over to Kentucky.
Defensively, Kentucky has extended the pressure, and they're forcing Indiana to play above the free throw line. And when you do that, you're going to be facing 5 sets of eyes. It makes it far more difficult for you to get into attack mode.
I don't think, Greg, you can tell just how good this Kentucky team's going to be. I mean, the back line of these 2 great freshmen, they're going to keep getting better. And this is a superpower, potentially.
It really is.
It's a super player. Wall can't get it to go up and down, says he was fouled. Officials say no. Reed comes the other way. Look at those Kentucky Wildcats get back and defend. And now going hard to the basket. And the call will be on. Looks like a player control foul.
Yeah, really good decision there. DeMarcus Cousins
he was there.
Got outside of the rim. Remember, there's the new rule in college basketball where the secondary defender is not allowed to take the charge directly under the rim. Cousins did a good job of getting out and up the lane to draw that charge.
Foul was on Watford, his third.
the crowd obviously didn't like the call, but I thought it was a proper one. It looked like the ball was deflected out of bounds from Patterson.
Kentucky maintains possession. One thing about Wall, he is a team player. He's very unselfish. If he's not scoring a lot, that's fine as long as his team is.
Well, he does what you need to win.
He's the definition of a point guard, makes the rest of the team better.
And even there, you're starting to see the prowess of Kentucky on that front line. And I tell you what, I heard Seth Davis talk about Kansas, and right now they are. It's unfortunate more people don't give them credit. They're a dominant team. But this young man, I think, is really the key, as much as we talked about Wall and Bledsoe. Because as he continues to develop, and if he develops that lean streak on the interior, the sky really will be the limit for Kentucky.
That young man, DeMarcus Cousins, has now helped Kentucky build a 16-0 run and a 15-point advantage in this game. It was a one-point game, Kentucky at the half. Rivers goes hard, rebound, Cousins, outlet. Here's Bledsoe, he can sky. That's 6-1. He's a happy guy, Bledsoe. I mean, like in this game,
he's having fun. It's a lot of fun when you're 8 of 9 from the field and getting the run-out slams and playing the kind of defense they've been playing in this game.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten the pub because he's been overshadowed by his teammate, but this Bledsoe was a super recruit. Calipari took the job on March 31. A month later, he had the #1 recruiting class in the country at Kentucky.
And it's on display. And a lot of times when you get all that young talent, it takes a little bit of time for it to mature. I think that's what's been most impressive is how well they've adapted to Coach Calipari's system and their understanding and their chemistry. I mean, it normally takes a while for young players to develop that. These guys, they're playing like they've been playing together for years.
What's the hardest part about developing? What do you have to? What's
the chemistry?
Yeah, jumping up.
Well, a lot of it is a feel for what everybody does well on the floor, having an understanding of what your role is, and that takes time.
Here's a possible three-point play as Pritchard, big power forward from outside of Cleveland, will try to convert a three-point play as he goes to the line.
And we talked about Cousins on the other end. Pritchard has a similar role, I think, for Indiana. He has really struggled this season, and I think in part his development is going to key whether or not Indiana can have a successful run in the Big Ten Conference, because they really need his interior presence. He was so good as a freshman last year and has just not had the type of impact thus far early on. Stops an 18-0 run there with that basket by Kentucky.
Good steal. Creek going hard the other way. Maurice Creek, freshman from Oxon Hill, Maryland. But the big guy taking a long ball. I don't know if they want that shot. And the whistle stops play with 11:31 left to go in the game, and Kentucky up by 15.
That don't kill me, can only make me stronger. I need you to hurry up now, 'cause I can't wait much longer.
CBS Sports College basketball coverage is sponsored by Prudential, growing and protecting your wealth. Let Prudential be your rock for retirement. By Bud Light, with just the right taste that's not too heavy, not too light, the difference is drinkability. And by AT&T, a better 3G experience. John Quickie with Greg Anthony. Assembly Hall, Indiana University, Kentucky up on Indiana, 65-50. Rising and falling, new to the top 10 this week, or top 25. Wisconsin, Texas Tech, Georgia Tech, and Ole Miss. And some are falling.
Yeah, and what you're going to see this all season long because of the parity in college basketball. Wisconsin, you knock off Duke at home, you turn around and lose to Wisconsin Green Bay the next week. So you're going to see a lot of that in the middle of the pack of that top 20.
Line drive, jumper rims out of bounds and inbounds to Indiana. Hoosiers coming into the game with a 4-4 record, had only 6 wins all of last year in a season when they had 8 walk-ons on the roster at various times, and also 2 baseball players. It's a tough year. Good look by Rivers. Miller. Orton's another force inside, a freshman from Oklahoma City.
Well, he's another one of those that heralded recruiting class. He is a solid player, great motor.
Yeah, well, as Calipari said, Greg, in the win over North Carolina a week ago, a 2-point win, that Orton's energy made the difference in the game. He didn't score, but he said he made the difference in our winning it.
Yeah, and that's what you want out of your bigs, activity on both ends, because ultimately there's a reason why there's 3 seconds in that paint. That's where it's going to be determined, and it has been thus far in this game for Kentucky.
Erdell Jones gets a couple for the Hoosiers, and they're down by 13. The crowd kicks in. Rivers, and the man is defending well against Wall. It's not easy to do, and then Rivers is picked off on the screen. There's Bledsoe. And Kentucky dominating on the offensive board. Gets the putback. Next Saturday, it's 2 scoops of hoop. First, the UCLA Bruins take on the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Then Gonzaga battles Coach K's Duke Blue Devils. It's all here on the home of NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, CBS Sports.
Well, I get the pleasure of doing that UCLA Notre Dame game. I'm excited to see Luke Herrington here. Again, nobody's talking about 26 points, almost 10 rebounds here early in the season.
They've got another guy that's come out of nowhere. Abramitis hit for 31 the other night. Bruins are ready to get started, though. They lost a few in a row.
Yeah, they struggled here early on, and obviously Ben Howland's been hit by the one-and-done bug by a lot of his young players. Drew Holiday last year, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Love a couple years ago. A little bit of a rebuilding year for the Bruins.
We talked to Greg earlier about how Wall told us the way they collapse on you defensively at major college level is something he has to adjust to, and Indiana's done that. He gets the ball. There's more than one on him. The back doesn't go. Orton rebounds, outlet to Wall. Oh, didn't go down. Would have been in the highlight reel if it did.
I tell you, the last few minutes, I've been impressed with Indiana in terms of them attacking the offensive glass. The energy is picked up for them. Just a question of whether or not now, 9:20 to go, down 15, there's enough time for them to come back.
Erdell Jones, who's been very quiet today, had the big game in the win over Pitt. Rebound. Bledsoe. Palming violation.
Yeah, that was a good call. He definitely had an advantage. You can see it right there with the carry. You might be able to get away with that at the next level a little bit, but not in college.
You can get away with it.
Yeah.
But everywhere they're looking at it a little closer.
But how about this young man? Bledsoe just had a phenomenal game. Really on both ends. He's done a good job defensively. He's a very good on-ball defender.
I think he's very good at everything.
Yeah, he does it all.
Indiana needed that. Senior Devin Dumas smokes the 3. 12-point game. Crowd kicks in again.
And one thing Indiana's done a better job of, the transition opportunities here of late have not been there for Kentucky. They're having to play a little bit more 5-on-5.
Oh, what a pass. That's a good foul by Christian Watford. They can get him at the line. No excuses to Greg for not making free throws. It's always an open shot.
Yeah, well, it's
undefended.
Unfortunately, a lot of guys, it's kind of a lost art. You definitely don't see guys excel as much at the free throw line, particularly the big guys.
And quietly, John Wall, 19-point-a-game scorer, has been excelling in a lot of different ways. He has 10 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. He's been directing things today.
Yeah, and we talked about that earlier. As you see Christian Watford fouling out, I thought he accounted himself quite nicely in this game, competed well. This young man's got a bright future, as does this Indiana basketball team. But, you know, the thing you really like about John Wall, that I like about him, is he plays with great poise, and he does not try to dominate the game. He allows the players on his team to dictate how they're going to play. If guys have the hot hand, he's going to keep them involved. He understands the importance of keeping those bigs integrated in the game, because when you get them touches, that's when they become more aggressive on the backboard and they block shots. And that's something that this team has done consistently all season long.
And Cousins at the line. He was fouled by Watford, who fouled out for Indiana with 8:26 to play. Pretty good looking stroke.
Yeah, it is. He's got all the tools. I tell you what, he's as talented a big as you'll find. The question is whether or not he has the mental capacity to continue to grow.
But then Indiana gets a piece of it. Dish down low. Capobianco is fouled hard by Cousins.
And you don't mind that. You like that aggressiveness by Cousins. He made the turnover, but he makes up for it with the effort. But that's the thing, too. I think we almost punish this young man. He's a great talent, but he's only a freshman. But when you play with another freshman as exceptional as John Wall, you tend to expect more. In his own way, I think he's going to develop into a great player. And Calipari talks about it. He loves the guy. He loves what he brings, his energy. He knows he's going to be a special player. Just not everybody develops at the same pace on this level.
Well, earlier this season, I think it was against Carolina Asheville, blocked the shot without leaving the floor.
Yes.
That gets you thinking.
And I think he had 27 and 18 in that game. I mean, the talent is unquestioned there. And also remember, too, in college, when you play with as much talent, we're not even talking about Patrick Patterson, first-team All-American, you know, who's a phenomenal player. They just have so many different weapons. That's why Wall is so important, because he's got to be the orchestrator, making sure that all these guys stay involved in the game.
Patterson, a tremendous offseason working programming up at San Francisco and worked with a trainer out there that had him running the hills of San Francisco. And now a long launch, and again, knockdown three, Guy Dotson. It's a 76-59 game, so Indiana inched their way back in, got back to within 12, and then Kentucky pulls away again. Is Kentucky national championship good? Yes. Kentucky doing things just too tough to overcome. Like, look at the rebound difference, Greg.
I mean, you cannot compete when you give up 21 more possessions in a game. And in this second half, Kentucky's done it all. I mean, they've been able to attack that offensive glass as they've done all throughout the course of the game. They've stretched it, knocked down that three-pointer, and then they've been able to get out and score in transition. I mean, we haven't even talked about the job they've done. They've really upped the ante defensively here in this second half. And there's the catalyst right there, that young man, John Wall. Sometimes your ability to not overwhelm is what allows you to dominate a game. And his ability to make sure that everybody else stays involved is one of the special traits he has as a basketball player. That's the beauty of being a point guard. Your job is to make everybody else better. Allow them to shine.
Well, a lot of Wildcats are shining today, including his backline teammate, Bledsoe, who's had a phenomenal shooting day, career day in his freshman year. Creek of Indiana at the free throw line now leads the Hoosiers with 21 points. 17 of those in the first half.
Yeah, and I tell you, Tom Crean, there's a lot that you can take away from this game. I mean, there's still some time here, 15 points with the threat of the three. But there's a lot of positives that Indiana can take away from this game in terms of how they competed in that first half.
Now the Wildcats with a commanding 15-point advantage, 7:22 to play. On the shot clock, Aaron Pro. Here come the Hoosiers, fast down court. Eric Elston can't get it to go. Capobianco back up and down. Doesn't come easy against Kentucky. And again, Indiana's going to have to try to get him at the line.
They are, but I like the fight right now by Indiana. And again, when you're a young team, you want to make sure you continue to play the way they are. Because it's not just about this game if you're Indiana. It's about the season and you continuing to improve.
No question, Greg. The Hoosiers developing, but when it comes to playing hard, they're second to none.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tom Crean did a great job. You made the point last year with the walk-ons and the lack of scholarship players. He's done a phenomenal job. He is one of the best motivators in college basketball. He will not allow his team to settle for less than their best effort. Now, you may win and may beat this team and may be more talented, but you are not going to outwork the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah, there was no praise when they were in the film session yesterday. When his team left, he said he was very praiseworthy of his team, the way they played and beating Pitt. Really a signature win for this developing Indiana team. Now inside 7 minutes to go. Cousins doubled up inside. Strong enough to go right through everybody.
I mean, look at the footwork. Look at him run. You know, that was a right shoulder move. Most bigs like to go to their off shoulder because it puts their strong hand at the forefront. He went off shoulder on that.
If we're picking teams, I definitely want to how about him. I think he could. Who knows how good he could be.
Yeah.
Oh, he asked John Calipari, how good can a guy like John Wall be? He said it's scary. I don't know, but he's going to push the envelope, though.
Yeah, that's the 4th on Cousins. And that's got to be another area where he's got to grow. But you're right when you talk about John Wall. There really is no limit to how good he can be. There really isn't. And I'll tell you what, at the center position, Cousins, I think, talent-wise, isn't equal to Wall. I just think at this stage of their careers, we talked about it earlier, Wall's a little bit further along mentally with his approach and his feel for the game.
Missed free throw, ball to Kentucky.
Now that's something that's got to be a concern for Tom Crean, the fact that they have really struggled at the free throw line here early in this game. I should say throughout the course of this game.
Look at Captain Patterson. Oh, that's a tough call. Well, a blocking foul on Capobianco as looked like he might have had position.
Yeah, but the reason that call goes against him is you have to allow the offensive player to come down.
Yeah, well,
you have to give him the space to be able to come down vertically, and that's where the call goes. But I have no problem with the reaction from the Indiana faithful. That's the way you would want your home crowd to react.
Yeah, your options are limited when you're in the air. Big Blue Nation, the Kentucky following the Jam Madison Square Garden. And not many here today. You can't get a ticket here.
No.
Hoosier fans would love to have tickets. It's oversold. '110th year of Indiana basketball. Kentucky is to 107th season. A terrific looking move to the basket by freshman Maurice Creek at 6'5".
I tell you what, he's got the total package offensively. Really good first step. Finishes well at the rim. We know when we've seen how well he can stretch it on the perimeter.
He's up to 25 now for the game. 24 points for Maurice Creek to lead Indiana.
And you always want to see your young players accept the challenge of the big stage. And Maurice Creek has definitely done that tonight.
Terrific work inside by sophomore Darnell Dotson at 6'7", playing tall. He's got 10. Indiana scoring so well from the three-point arc. Not in the second half. The looks haven't been there. John Wall. Ball will be back inbounds to Indiana. This weekday's all new with Robert Downey Jr. and Sarah Jessica Parker. Monday, catch Hugh Grant and Alicia Keys. Then Tuesday, don't miss Greg Ferguson's 1000th show, only on CBS. (80-63), Kentucky looking to extend its opening a season win streak to 10 consecutive games. Number 4 in the country and rising. Good dish by Rivers. No shot, though. Orton's defense was there. Rivers shot rims out, and Orton rebounds.
Yeah, they come at you in waves on that front line with the size, the athleticism, And they want to attack defensively. That's one thing Calipari teaches his team. They attack the basketball.
Oh, wow. Patterson sweeping two-hand stuff. Well, as Calipari said that this is going to be a Super Bowl for Indiana today, and we've got to be ready to stand that early onslaught. And Indiana came up with it. They took an early lead, played great. Patterson playing great for Kentucky, 17 points and 10 rebounds.
Yeah, he's had just a very solid, consistent game, much like he's done all year long. The young man came back for his junior year, really developed that mid-range game. Just a solid performer. There's that tough love, Calipari. And he says, he told me last night, I went by the team dinner, and he said, you know, he knows I love him. Yeah. And that's important, you know, because when the player knows that his coach loves him, it allows the coach to give that constructive criticism. Because a lot of times as a young man, you don't always take well to criticism, especially when you've been that dominant of a player. Daniel Orton fouling out there. He's going to be another guy, folks. Remember, he's not going to have the opportunities this year simply because of the greatness of a Patrick Patterson. But next season, he's also, along with Cousins, going to provide a pretty formidable front line. And you saw it on display last week against North Carolina.
After the practice last night, Wildcats went back to the same hotel. Somebody said when you travel with Coach Cal, you eat. He had it all out there. Steaks, chicken, ribs, corn on the cob. Something to sleep on. And he had him up early to shoot.
7:30 this morning. That is early. And they practiced twice yesterday. They practiced in Lexington before they came over. And then they came in here and had a shoot around as well. I'll tell you what, that SEC in general is much improved. It's going to be interesting to see. Florida, top 10 team. Tennessee, top 10.
Tennessee's won the SEC East the last 2 years.
Yeah, Ole Miss has improved.
Drive to the basket. And the clock is stopped with 3:55 to play. Next, CBS Sports presents the renewal of one of the most colorful and illustrious spectacles in all of sport. It's all guts, all grit, and all glory. It's the Army-Navy game presented by USAA. It all begins with TIAA Creft College football today. Men in uniform, over about 1.2 million men and women serving in the United States military, and everyone is a volunteer. Kentucky at the line, Bledsoe extending his big day and building Kentucky's lead now to 84-65. Wildcats led by only a point at the half with now a 3:50 to go. Rivers going hard and dishing out for the open three. Jordan Hulls, Indiana High School Player of the Year a season ago, strokes his second three of the day. But Kentucky's not going to give enough possession to get back in this.
Well, they just, Indiana, on this second half, just really unable to get anything going offensively. And it can be a demoralizing when you're going up against a team like Kentucky and you can't necessarily compete on the backboard.
Driving hard, Bledsoe tips the ball away. And John Walls, adhering to his coach's instructions, pulls it back out and runs some clock.
He just really makes it look easy. I mean, just a very simple pick and roll. He makes the right read, and Patrick Patterson continuing to show the improvement of that mid-range jump shot.
A workman-like 19 points for him, Greg.
Yeah, double-double. You know, he just brings it every night.
Hulls launches way outside the arc. And Kentucky with the countdown on, 2:37 to go, with an 86-68 lead and off to a 10-0 start.
you can see Calipari on the sideline. He's still coaching, in part because remember, this is still a young team. There's still a lot of growth in order for them to develop into a team that legitimately can contend for a national championship.
John Walls with a pull-up, a little bit short. Good assist, he says. Underneath the big DeMarcus Cousins, who he's got 14.
Tom Green talked about it yesterday. One of the big concerns is that big three of Kentucky, Cousins, Patterson, and Wall. And while they all played well, Bledsoe was really that big fourth. He's their fourth leading scorer.
How about their first leading scorer, Maurice Creek, for Indiana? He's got, 29 now. First leading scorer in the game. Well, if Green wants to develop a roster with toughness and confidence, they play hard, but to overcome this Kentucky team, I'm speculating maybe Kansas or I don't know. I think Kentucky's an absolute superpower.
Yeah, but
and they're not even close, Greg, to where they're going to be.
They're not, but Kansas, as good as we've seen today, Kansas is a special team. I mean, you forget they were so talented coming back. Then they get the bonus of Xavier Henry, who's leading them in scoring. Kentucky's going to be right there, as they've proven. They're a national title contender.
Next, CBS Sports presents the renewal of one of the most colorful and illustrious spectacles in all of sport. It's all guts, all grit, and all glory. It's the Army-Navy game presented by USAA. It begins with TIAA Cref College football today. With 17:42 left in this game, Indiana led 48-47. In the next 6 minutes, Kentucky won an 18-0 run. And that was lights out in this ball game. Kentucky took it away.
And that's really been the signature of Kentucky all year. Their ability to go on those long runs, those big spurts, triggered generally by their defense, their ability to turn you over and control that defensive backboard, and then they get it in Wall's hands, and boy, they get out in the open court, and they are tough to defend.
Leading scorer, Wall shooting for his 11th point. He averages 19 a game, but he's played a terrific floor game, Greg.
He's been solid, 5 rebounds, and to go along with 8 assists, and then Patterson 19-11. You talked about Bledsoe 22 points, and then Cousins 14-12 in the second half, which is really when they separated from Indiana, in part because of Cousins' impact on the backboard.
High to the basket, rejected by Cousins. Odell Jones trying to get something going inside. The Vice President of Production for CBS Sports is Harold Bryant. Today's game produced by Bob Dekas, directed by Chris Svensson. And the entire CBS crew, we thank them all as the Kentucky Wildcats back in national prominence big time. An 89-71 lead with 53.5 seconds left to go.
And this is impressive, too. Remember, this is their first real road test of the season. And they have responded very well.
Talking about the SEC and the strength of them, I think Big Ten has got a good-looking outfit up and down that conference. Last year, they had 8 teams in the Big Ten that won 20 or more games. 7 went to the NCAA tournament. 11 schools, there were no coaching changes, so the Big Ten is better this year, probably.
They are better. I mean, remember the first time ever they won the ACC Big Ten Challenge this year. A very impressive conference overall. And having said that, this is an Indiana team that only won 1 game in conference a year ago. I do think they are markedly better this season.
Oh, there's no question.
And it's going to be interesting to see how much of a jump they can make within the conference. But you talked about it, Purdue, Michigan State, Wisconsin beats Duke earlier this year. Illinois is a very, very good team as well.
Well, Kentucky's in control as Patrick Patterson comes out, a salute from his teammates. Leading scorer in this game, though, is Maurice Creek at the free throw line, shooting for his 31st point. He has it for Indiana. Freshman with 31. 9 of 14 field goal shooting, and he hit those early threes in the first half when Indiana had a lead.
You don't necessarily want to foul, but you do like the intensity even now at this point in the game from Indiana. They haven't given up. They're still building towards the future as well, as we touched upon.
Such balance, though, Greg, in Kentucky's lineup. Bledsoe, 8 of 10 field goals, 22 points. Patterson, 19 and 11. Wall, 11 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. Cousins with 14 points, 12 of those in the second half.
Yeah, and you talked about it, the balance and the field goal. But they came in shooting almost 52% from the field as a team, 11th in the country. And they shoot it pretty well from the 38%. So they are a complete team offensively and defensively that still has yet to play their best basketball.
Next up for Kentucky, Austin Peay. And for the Hoosiers, North Carolina Central. But soon the conference schedules come, and it really gets tough.
I'll tell you, what a classy move to do by the fans here in Indiana. When Tom Crean took all the starters out, the fans gave him a nice standing ovation. They appreciate the effort and how hard this group has worked.
We heard the last in Indiana. These guys are going to get better. This young team as this season goes down low. They get the ball up, and big time Job is unable to get it down. So the clock runs out of time, and Kentucky moves to a 90-73 win. For Greg Anthony, this is Don Criqui saying so long from Indiana. Our final score: Kentucky 90, Indiana 73. Army-Navy football presented by USAA is coming up next. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports, the exclusive home of the men's NCAA basketball championship.